I used to think stories on the internet were exaggerated. Every missing person thread, every creepy post, every true horror confession felt like something written for attention. But in October of 2019, I read a story that stayed with me longer than any horror film ever had. Not because it involved ghosts or monsters, but because every part of it felt painfully real. The man who wrote it never tried to sound dramatic. He wrote like someone exhausted, someone who genuinely wanted people to believe him. His name was Daniel Reeves, a 34-year-old night security guard from Ohio, and what happened to him still doesn't have a clear explanation.
Daniel lived alone in a small apartment outside Akron. According to his old co-workers and archived forum posts, he was quiet, reliable, and painfully ordinary. He worked night shifts at a storage facility, spent most weekends gaming online, and rarely spoke about his personal life. In late September of 2019, he joined a discussion forum dedicated to insomnia. At first, his posts were harmless. He talked about not sleeping well and hearing noises from neighboring apartments. But over the next few weeks, his posts became increasingly disturbing. In one entry, Daniel explained that every night at exactly 3:13 a.m., he would hear 3 knocks coming from inside his apartment walls. Not at the door, not from upstairs, inside the walls. He assumed it was old plumbing until the sound started moving. Some nights the knocking came from behind his bedroom. Other nights it came from the kitchen. Then came the scratching. Long, slow scraping sounds that lasted for several minutes before suddenly stopping. He wrote that it sounded like fingernails dragging across wood. At first, people online mocked him. Some told him he had rats in the walls. Others accused him of making the story up for attention. Daniel responded calmly to almost every comment. He even uploaded audio recordings from his phone. The quality was terrible, but around the 40-second mark, viewers could hear faint knocking followed by a dragging sound. Thousands of people listened to it. Most dismissed it immediately, but a few people noticed something strange. Between the scratching noises, there was something that almost sounded like breathing. Daniel's final posts became more frantic. He claimed objects in his apartment were moving slightly during the day. A chair would face another direction. Kitchen cabinets would be open when he returned from work. One morning, he woke up and found muddy footprints near his bathroom despite living on the 3rd floor. He called the police, but according to reports, officers found no signs of forced entry. They suggested stress or sleep deprivation. Daniel insisted someone was entering his apartment while he slept. Then he made the post that people still talk about today. On October 14th, at 2:47 a.m., Daniel wrote, "If anything happens to me, look behind the wall in the bedroom closet. I'm serious. I heard him breathing again tonight." That post was viewed over 2 million times after his disappearance. The next day, Daniel never showed up to work. His manager assumed he quit. After 2 days of no contact, police performed a welfare check at his apartment. The place was unlocked. His wallet, keys, and phone were all still inside. The television was on. A half-eaten microwave dinner sat on the table. But Daniel himself was gone. Investigators initially treated the case as a voluntary disappearance. Adults vanish all the time, but then officers noticed damage inside the bedroom closet. The back wall had deep scratches near the bottom corner, as if someone had tried to pry it open. When maintenance workers removed the drywall, they discovered a narrow hidden space between Daniel's apartment and the neighboring unit. Inside that space, police found empty food wrappers, water bottles, stained blankets, and signs that someone had been living there for weeks. But that wasn't the worst part. According to the police report leaked online years later, investigators also found dozens of small holes drilled into the drywall. Tiny peepholes looking directly into Daniel's bedroom, kitchen, and bathroom. Whoever had been hiding there had been watching him constantly. The neighboring apartment was supposed to be vacant. Police searched the building but found no suspect. No fingerprints matched anyone in the system. Security cameras around the complex showed nothing unusual except for occasional glitches between 3 o'clock and 4 a.m. Detectives believed a homeless individual may have secretly accessed the maintenance corridors and lived inside the walls for months. But many details never made sense. Residents claimed they occasionally heard movement at night long before Daniel moved in. One tenant reported hearing whispering through the vents. Another claimed food disappeared from her kitchen while she slept. As the story spread online, Internet investigators uncovered older complaints connected to the apartment complex dating back almost 10 years. Several former tenants mentioned strange noises in the walls. One woman wrote that she once woke up to find a man standing silently at the end of her hallway before disappearing into darkness. Her report was dismissed because there was no evidence of forced entry. Daniel's story exploded across YouTube and Reddit. Some believed it was a clever internet hoax. Others became obsessed with finding the hidden person living in the walls. Amateur investigators visited the apartment complex and uploaded videos exploring maintenance tunnels beneath the building. In one now-deleted video, a creator claimed to hear movement behind a wall before abruptly ending the recording. The channel disappeared 2 days later. Months passed with no answers. Daniel Reeves remained missing. Then, in February of 2020, a package arrived at the home of Daniel's younger sister in Michigan. There was no return address. Inside was a flash drive containing a single video file. The footage was only 4 minutes long. It showed Daniel sitting in darkness inside his apartment bedroom. He looked exhausted. His eyes were red and unfocused. He whispered directly into the camera, trying not to make noise. Behind him, the room was almost completely dark except for faint light coming from the hallway. Daniel said, "If someone finds this, don't stay here. He comes out when I'm asleep. I know he does. I started pretending to sleep so I could hear him." For nearly a minute, nothing happened. Daniel remained silent, staring toward the bedroom door. Then the camera picked up a sound. Breathing. Slow, wet, uneven breathing. Daniel's face changed immediately. He looked terrified but didn't move. The breathing grew louder. Then came a soft creaking noise from inside the closet. The door slowly opened by itself. At this point, the footage becomes difficult to watch. Daniel began shaking violently while whispering, "Oh God, he's here." A dark shape appeared briefly near the closet opening. It was impossible to identify clearly due to the poor lighting and video quality. But whatever moved there appeared unusually tall and thin. The footage ended suddenly after Daniel reached for the camera. Police never released the video publicly, but portions of it were described by multiple people who claimed to have seen leaked copies. Authorities refused to comment on whether the footage was authentic. To this day, nobody knows what happened to Daniel Reeves. Some investigators believe he suffered a psychological breakdown caused by isolation and insomnia. Others think a real intruder had been secretly living inside the apartment walls and eventually abducted him. But a smaller group believes something even darker happened inside that building. Because 3 years after Daniel disappeared, another tenant reported hearing knocking sounds at exactly 3:13 a.m. 3 knocks. Every night. Whether Daniel's story was real, exaggerated, or something far worse, one fact remains true. A man vanished without explanation after repeatedly begging people to believe him. And sometimes the most terrifying stories are the ones that sound completely possible. Because unlike monsters or demons, real fear comes from knowing that someone could be watching you from the other side of the wall, and you'd never know until it was too late.